Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're extremely excited to announce a new product and platform from ReliaSoft. We are excited to announce ReliaSoft Cloud, which we believe will help transform your FMEA process. We'd also like to thank you very much for being here and for your interest in this. Today, myself, Sam Eisenberg, product manager for ReliaSoft, I'm joined by Zach Graves, application engineer, FMEA specialist and trainer. We're here to talk to you about the new product that we're obviously quite excited to speak about. Before we get to any of these pieces, though, there's a couple of items I'd like to go over, some housekeeping notes, and then a little thing we're going to get to. Over on the right-hand side of your screen, there is a Q&A panel for you to type any and all questions you have, and we welcome you to ask them as we're going through the presentation. Today's presentation will be emailed to you, and it's going to be recorded. And finally, if you've got any questions at any time, please reach out to us with anything that you've got on your mind. Before we get into the us showcasing all of this, there is a video that we've worked up that we'd like to show you and sort of introduce the tool. And so with that in mind, let's go ahead and roll the video, and we'll be back in a minute. That was awesome. So we've been talking with our customers, with you guys, for quite a while about trying to understand what your challenges are and trying to understand how best we can help with this. And so there's been a number of items that we want to talk about. And so, sort of at the high level, we're looking at things like making sure that you guys have access to things in a timely manner, making sure that wherever you sit in the world, that you can connect to your database, you can do your work efficiently and effectively, without worrying about what the platform is. And so we've got a tool that helps speak to that. And then insight and access are a little bit more interrelated. And so, it's really important that we understand what challenges you guys are facing. One of the big things we heard repeatedly is that data clutter and, sort of how FMEAs are worked. The idea that FMEAs are stored here in this format and over here in this format, and that reusing information between all of these things is a challenge. And so we needed to have something that was a little more centralized, provided a lot more access to different people in different groups, so that you can actually work together and to be honest, collaborate a little bit better. And so one of the things that we needed to look at is how we simplify all of that and bring it together. And so we wanted to deliver a tool that has minimal IT overhead, that simplifies collaboration and is really easy for the end user to make sense of. And so along with that, we figured, how do we do this? How do we make something that is a collaborative tool and that is sort of central to the engineering approaches? And so this is where I've got a small note, which is that, well, ReliaSoft Cloud is starting with FMEA. It's not ending with FMEA. This is a platform. However, one of the things about this is that we had to start somewhere. And so a lot of discussions, both externally and internally, we came back to the realization, again, that FMEA is a focal point for a lot of different engineering approaches, and is, if I'm being blunt, probably the most collaborative of all of the engineering approaches. And so we went with the cloud-hosted solution, something that's a little bit, it streamlines IT rollout. It streamlines the overhead that's there. It only requires a web browser, some licensing, and the ability to access it, and that's it. So cloud-hosted means that access will be a lot quicker. It'll be much more robust, and that it's coming to you in a much more easily digestible package. And by going with software as a service, it means that licensing can be scaled. If you're starting small and growing big, Wonderful. If you're starting big and just need to make sure that you've got something there, we're here for you. And so the idea here is that we wanted to start someplace, and FMEA is the best place, we believe, for us to start this journey with you. Zach, anything that you'd like to add to the first talking points before we get to the first demo?
No. I think you hit the nail on the head there. I'm glad you mentioned the fact, right, that this is a platform that we're going to be using this for a lot of different reliability activities, a lot of our different approaches and applications. But you're absolutely right in that FMEA is just the most logical starting point. It benefits the most from having a fast, easy to use, easy to deploy, central platform. As a practitioner of FMEA as myself, a single FMEA document might have dozens of people from different regions that need to access it at the same time and update it and so on. And that really just works best with a SaaS deployment, right? To that end, I'll give you a brief kind of demo of how that works, right? So like you mentioned, right, we start here, right here in a web browser, right? And just with your email and password, I'll start this demo going here. You can sign in and access all of your data, right? You start out with a dashboard that's user specific. We can select an FMEA, get right into some data that we've been working on recently, in this case, an all-terrain bicycle. Right here, I can scroll down and see all the data that's already entered. I can select functions and update those functions, failure modes, potential effects of failures, right? These are core objects in an FMEA that we're all familiar with. I can select a cause, maybe update my occurrence and detection risk, see how that affects my action priority. Here we can see we have a high action priority for this particular cause, right? We came up with some actions to address that. We can put in our updates for our new occurrence and detection ratings based off the results of those actions, right? And we can see that we now have a low risk priority. So this worksheet view that we were just looking at is really the classic way to view an FMEA that most people are familiar with. But we can also take these objects, right? These are hierarchical objects. We have them organized very thoroughly in a database. Right? We can view them in a hierarchy mode that allows us to contract and condense and zoom through our information a lot quicker. Right? We can look at our header information, properties related to the FMEA, and we can also go and click into our FMEA screen here and see our hierarchical structure to our actual, bill of materials that goes into the FMEA. Because we're not always doing an FMEA on just a component or just a subsystem or just a system item. We're doing it on a range of items, and we need to have that organized in a functional way. So that's kind of a brief overview of how this SaaS system works, right? The big thing here, multiple people can join the same central database through nothing but a web browser, right? And access that data and update that data and view that data very, very easily. Any comment on that, Sam?
No, that was perfect. That was great, okay. Zach.
All right, I'll move us to our next point here.
All right. So, some of the other pieces that are out there, is the whole notion of how do we actually get through all of the noise? I mean, so you showed, what was, in all honesty, a prepared FMEA. But the idea that even one prepared FMEA, it's lengthy, it's long. There's a lot of things that go into this. And if you've got dozens, hundreds, thousands of records that you need to get through, there's a whole lot of noise that goes into this. And so one of the other things that we wanted to make sure we deliver a solution to is the ability to just cut through all of that noise and be able to reuse information as necessary. And so there's this idea of how do we provide the best tool to do this. And so there's a couple of approaches, and we tried to do both. One is the ability to easily reuse information, and two is the one we're going to talk about right now, is the ability to take that information and elevate it. And so we need to be able to show a prompt and efficient way to take that information and coalesce it up. And so dashboards is a great way to achieve this. And so, we've got some pieces that are there. We've got a landing page that helps show exactly what those insights are that we're looking to achieve. And the other piece to this is that as we're going through the FMEA process, an FMEA is, when it's done well, it's a living, continuously updated document, and everything that's going through that are all the challenges that you're actually going through from an engineering perspective. So, I mean, yes, this is just recording the information, but it's vital that you're able to access it, and it's vital that you're able to see the insights that are being put into it, so that you can act on them. Because of the importance of these outputs, the idea that actions are the thing that you actually need to do. And so, the idea here is that we have to be able to democratize the information in this FMEA, and dashboards are an excellent way to achieve that. Zach, anything you want to add to that before we get to the dashboard demo?
No, I think you make a really good point there, right? Especially in regards to kind of data clutter. I think we've all been in the situation, if you've filled out an FMEA before, right, where you have an FMEA for a system like our bicycle system, right, and you got 12 different spreadsheets on 3 different computers, and you're trying to figure out what am I responsible for? What actions have I done? What was the impact on the risk? What actions do I have left to complete? What are my highest risk causes? Right? There's all sorts of information floating out there that's difficult to digest and extract from an FMEA, because for realistic systems, right, you have, again, dozens of documents, thousands of lines of data. Trying to extract that information can be really difficult, right? And that kind of brings us to our next point here, dashboards, right? Dashboards kind of act as a landing page for each user. When they open the software, it's the first thing they see, right? They can see, recently viewed FMEAs, what have they been working on, what actions are open to them. Let me go ahead and start this demo so we can kind of see a walkthrough, right? So we can easily access any FMEA we've been working on recently. If we have open actions, we can select that action. Here, for instance, I have the action offer free safety clinics to all bicycle users, blah, 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 right? I can see that's been assigned to me. I haven't updated this action with what I've actually done yet, so I can go ahead and do that now, right? I can find that very easily from the dashboard. I can say, all right, we established a plan to offer these safety clinics, right? And then I can assess what the impact on my risk will be, right? I can put in the completion date for that action, and I can see I now have a low risk cause as a result of those actions. As I go back to my dashboard, we'll see that we've eliminated that as an open action. That action is closed, and we'll see that update in tile 6 there as well. Right? So we can see recent changes to the FMEAs, acts as a bit of an audit log. We can also look at our risk profile, as well as specific causes that haven't been addressed yet. Here we could see from that list I had a high risk cause, excessive brake wear, that I hadn't yet addressed with an action. So that remains high risk, right? So that's a good note. That's something I need to go and come up with some actions for to address that risk, right? We can't really reduce the severity, right? But maybe I can introduce a new test to decrease our detection score, right? Or a new design guideline, right, to decrease our occurrence score, and so on. Right? So the dashboard allows us to take a high-level view, cut through the noise of all that data, right, and gives us little pieces, little instances where we can jump in and make an adjustment, right? Am I responsible for an action that's overdue? Do I have a high-risk cause that needs to be addressed within action, and so on? It just gives us a nice, easy view of our data and what we're responsible for, because there could be dozens of FMEAs across this database that we have responsibility in. Anything to add to that, Sam? Anything I missed?
No, that was really comprehensive. That was great. Thank you, Zach. So
third point here then.
Absolutely. So, one of the things that I mentioned and that Zach has already touched on a couple of times is the idea of how we actually take all this information and distill it down into something, because as your FMEA process grows, so does the knowledge inside of it. And the ability to intelligently reuse information, either directly or as a guideline for how you want the rest of this to be done, means that not only is it a living document, but it's becoming a really important and vital knowledge store, contextualized information. Then there's the other side of this, which is that assuming that you're starting from doing this again or doing it for the first time, anyone who's ever been responsible for starting or facilitating an FMEA can attest that when you're staring at a blank screen or you just have your functions and requirements, that it can be a bit of a challenge to get started. And so we wanted to figure out what the best way to go through all of these things would be. And so we're really excited to take a look at how we can integrate new technologies and new approaches into our tool. And that brings us to the final primary talking point for today. The other major significant enhancement beyond the prior generation of tools that we've had is that we have introduced a way to thoughtfully integrate artificial intelligence into FMEAs. AI means a lot of things to a lot of people. And so I want to be a little bit clear that when we're talking about AI, we're talking about using it to assist with your FMEA process. So what we're doing is something that we're talking about an AI assist. And so we're offering the ability to make suggestions of records within the FMEA process. FMEA is a logical sequence structure in an ideal format, some sequences and some grammatical structures that go along with this. And so these are the sorts of things that AI is actually great at: detecting patterns, looking at common language and common structures, and then making suggestions on how to actually follow that rigid structure and go through. And so what we're doing is we're making suggestions of basically what records might be useful to you. So when you're looking at an FMEA, we're going to provide an option so that lets you actually say, hey, that's a great idea, I didn't think of that. Or let me just get some help filling these things out, because it's going to go through and look at what you've done before. And it's also going to look at the structure of what you're doing currently and then offer suggestions along the way. One final note that I personally feel is important is that this allows you to very quickly select or, if needed, reject any suggestions that we make and integrate them into your FMEA. Zach, anything you want to add before we get into the last demo?
Not really. Again, yeah, you really nailed it. I liked what you said about you used the term thoughtfully integrate the AI tools, right? I think in our industry, AI has become one of those buzzwords, right? Something that's thrown at every problem, whether it exists or doesn't exist, right? You can't buy an airline ticket these days without an AI chatbot inserting itself into the process. And I think you guys did a really good job on the product team of integrating AI in a way that's actually useful and acts as a tool, right? There's this fantastical idea, that AI could somehow fill out an FMEA for you. And that's, of course, ridiculous, right? FMEAs rely on the very niche engineering knowledge that exists within the teams filling out those FMEAs, right? But what AI can do is quickly sift through a lot of information and make logical suggestions, right, based off of information you've already put into the database or information that exists, right, in general, right? And I think you guys have done a really good job integrating that, right? And to that point, we can kind of show that off and how that works in the software, right? So instead of starting from a blank slate, we'll get to that. Here we'll start from an FMEA that's already been filled out, right? Say we want to add an additional function here, right? I can go ahead and right-click, select the AI assist, right, and have it look through the database for functions similar to the item that I'm currently working in. Right? When I find that function, provide adequate dampening of road loads, I can then add failure modes to it using the AI assist, as I've done here. Right? It will look through the database. It will prioritize information that's already been filled out in the database. If no such information exists, it'll make suggestions based on its own knowledge base. Right? So I can add failure modes, but as often the case, and you mentioned this, Sam, right? They're not always going to be perfect. Increased noise levels during driving is a good starting point, right? But maybe I'll add some information in there, like due to improperly damped frequencies in excess of 100 hertz, right? It's often the case that the knowledge I have is going to be much more specific to my product than what the AI is coming up with, right? Based on that failure mode, we can come up with some effects, right? Based on that failure mode again, we can come up with causes as well, and we can work ourselves all the way down this logical tree for this FMEA. Right? Zooming ahead a little bit, right? I can add in effects and controls and actions, right, and so on, right? But I also wanted to show here that we can start from a blank slate as well, right? What's the case when I'm looking at a brand new FMEA? It can still suggest new functions, right, and failure modes based only on the item name. And here we can see some things being suggested related to our old all-terrain bike system as we open up this blank slate, this new all-terrain bike system. Right? And that's a really important point, because there's nothing, again, as an FMEA practitioner myself, right? There's nothing more disheartening. I'm failing to say the right words here, but disheartening than a blank page, right? It's really intimidating. That's the word I was looking for, intimidating. When you just have a blank cells of functions, failure modes, effects, right? Starting from scratch is really, really difficult. So being able to search through the database easily while I'm in the FMEA for similar functions, similar failure modes, and have other things suggested to me as sort of a brainstorming exercise, that's just really helpful. And it avoids this fantastical idea that, you know, some AI is going to come in and fill out the FMEA for me, because that's just never going to happen. Right. So I think you guys did a really good job integrating this tool. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. Thank you, Zach. That
Anything
was awesome.
to add? Yeah.
Well, so I mean, just to respond a little bit to your bit at the end there. I mean, one of the key things is that, you know, the idea is that when you get to that sort of mental block point of, I've got this blank sheet and I have a deadline and this has to be done, the notion of having just some brainstorm assist, something that I can click on and say, hey, let's throw some ideas at the wall, because I don't know where to start yet. And so this does give an opening for that without, I mean, you know, without committing to anything. It's basically saying, all right, so the team is a little quiet. What do you think of these? And if they're great, people go, hey, this is wonderful. And if they don't fit, guess what? You're still talking.
Yes.
and so, you know, this is one of those key pieces where it learns as you go. The more information you have in your database, the more information it has to glean from, and the better the suggestions will be. And so on your second and third attempts with these tools, it's going to continue to improve, and the suggestions are going to get honed in further and further on what it is that, you know, sort of riffs off of that, you know, what the item name is, what the function or requirement you've already defined, and then the rest of everything just flows. And so we're really excited to introduce this to you guys, as I think showing through on our faces and how eager we are to share it with you. And so thank you for that demo, Zach. That was awesome.
Absolutely. I'll let you take us home here.
So in closing, before we get to the questions and answers, I'd like to at least summarize what it is we talked about. So ReliaSoft Cloud is a software as a service platform, starting with FMEA first, that allows for really easy deployment of this solution to you guys. We've got a really nice dashboard system that allows you to really quickly cut through information. If you've got a lot of information stored in the ReliaSoft Cloud, it shows you the information that is relevant to you. It shows you the last FMEA you've written. It shows you the actions that were assigned to you. And then finally, we've got a really exciting use of what I hoped and believe to be a intelligent and thoughtful way to integrate AI into the FMEA process. And we're really excited to bring this to you. And so with that, I'd like to turn attention to the questions you guys have thrown at us, and we'll get to Q&A here. Looking forward to this. All right, so a quick jump to some of the questions. We've got some great ones in here. Thank you guys so much. I think we were going to pop the questions up so you could see them, but there's more than a few, then we'll have the opportunity to answer all of them. And so I'd like to state the ones we don't get to, we will try to follow up, as well as these will be introduced in a little bit more detail, because we do have a deep dive webinar that goes a little bit further into the product that's coming up on February 12th. But let's get to the first question. So the question of can we import existing FMEAs into this? Zach, I'll let you handle this one because you've got a little bit more experience dealing with it directly.
Yeah, absolutely. You can import existing FMEAs from Excel. We're still building out that functionality to make it a little smoother, but absolutely, you're going to be able to take the FMEAs you have in Excel and bring them in. And I just noticed top of the screen, a little link just popped up. If you're interested in a deeper, more technical dive, Sam and I will be doing that. What was that? February 12th, same time, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We're going to be doing a deep dive. So just go ahead and click that link if you want to register for that one as well. I think we can go to the next question here. Yeah, so are the fields and criteria drop-downs configurable? Absolutely. Sam, did you want to expand on this, though?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the linkages back to our previous tool set, XFMEA, which, I mean, by the way, will be supported for some time to come, but we're bringing everything sort of new to this approach, is that we learned that one of the things that made XFMEA stand out pretty early on was the configurability of the tool. And so we absolutely need to bring that through to you guys. And so the notion of being able to modify the names of the fields, the sequence of the fields, and making sure that the drop-down criteria fit your scales are things that absolutely are supported within the tool. And if there's additional functionality that is necessary, the advantage of a cloud-hosted software as a service deployment is not waiting for these milestone service releases, but we can basically iterate introductions into the software quickly and easily, meaning that the request implementation time is limited to honestly our developers' bandwidth and the ability to test it and make sure that it's working in conjunction with all the other features. And so we can get things much quicker to you in the tool when we can't deliver. But for this question, we absolutely can.
All right. Do we have, oh, wow, we're getting a lot of questions in here. Okay. Can users have permissions like view only? And is this available to demo? Yeah, so, you can always reach out to us for more information on this, but there will be two basic types of users, right? Users who can go in and edit the document, and people who are allowed to see dashboards and see the data and so on, but not actually edit it. So view-only users, and there's further permissions that we'll be able to build on top of users. It's absolutely available to demo. Just reach out to us at any point, and we can set up a demo of the software and give you some time to use it yourself. Sam, did you have another?
Yeah, there's one other small piece that I'm sure we'll get to in more detail in the deep dive webinar, but I wanted to at least address here, which is that every single level of subscription to the software as a service platform includes some amount of view-only users, and the larger the subscription base, the sort of the more you get to the point where effectively at the higher levels, the number of view-only users may as well be unlimited, and so this is part of one of the key pieces of the platform that we wanted to make sure was included, because we do know that while FMEA is a collaborative process, the review of FMEA is vital for you guys as users, and so absolutely is the answer to this question.
Yeah. So I'm looking through this list here. We got like 15 other questions, but we got 1 minute left. So I'm going to say, for those of you who have asked questions, thank you so much. We're going to follow up with you outside of this. There's a ton of really good ones in here. I wish we had time to get to, and we'll also address them in the deep dive webinar as well. So in closing, just thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. There's a link to the product page floating above my head right now as well. Go ahead and click that to check out ReliaSoft Cloud. Again, if you asked a question, we are going to get to it. We'll respond to you via email or something after this, and then we'll try to address them at the deep dive webinar as well when we have more time. Sam, any closing notes?
No, I really, honestly, I just wanted to say thank you, Zach, for you first, and also for everyone here, for everyone watching this live, or for those of you who registered and didn't get to watch it live, but will see the recording of it, which answers one of the questions that's there, which is, will this recording be made available? The answer is yes, because we are recording it, and the presentation and the link to it will be sent out to everyone, and we're really excited to have this out, and for all of your interest in this, and looking forward to getting a little bit further into this. Zach, you'll be at Rams, if I remember correctly, and so you'll be able to talk to people there about this. And then on February 12th, we'll have that deep dive webinar. And so again, thank you everyone for your interest, and we will talk to you soon.